Good morning.
Good morning, Jenny White.
I kind of always hate that intro. I mean, the intro is working okay, but then there's not like any way to get into it without just going, wow. I mean,
oh, you want to put in some camera effects? You want to fade us in or dissolve us in like the old 1990s slideshow effects or something?
Yeah. Yes, because I noticed. So, you know, people are talking about, do we really like daylight savings time, or, you know, do we not like daylight savings time, right? Well, I have decided what I like. So this morning I was putting on my makeup and the sun is coming in my room. And I'm like, I don't care to see that much.
It doesn't bother me unless I'm playing a lot of golf. If I'm playing a lot of golf, then I like daylight savings time because then I can play long.
I just decided if it's dark, I don't have to see myself as well. So that's why I want to go, you know, that's why I'll go stay on daylight savings time. I know, isn't that sad? Oh, we already have comments and I haven't seen the comments. Oh, there. Okay. Standard time is God's time. See, God does not want me to see my face that early. Good morning, you two. We, the people, hate time change of any sort. Well, it does kind of. I mean, I've seen the arguments about it, and I don't know. But all I know is what I look like in the mirror with the sun coming through early in the morning.
Well, don't use that. Don't use that mirror. Use God's mirror. You go out to the water trough or something and use that instead.
You know, maybe that's the way to do it. I'm not really sure. And speaking of water trough, this morning we have people who would know something about that on this morning.
That's right. Well, I feel I was just getting ready to go run and get my cowboy hat just to make you the lone man out.
Well, Trent is never without his cowboy hat, and I haven't seen John without his either. So you're right. I mean, they may be glued on there. That's not... All right. Well, let's bring these two on because we need to talk about some beef prices. So I'll bring on John because he's right at the top there, and then I'm going to bring on Trent. Good morning, Trent. How are you?
Well, I've got a major issue with you already.
It's my makeup, I know.
Yeah, because if standard time, whatever God's time is, I'm in favor of. I don't understand cutting an hour off at the end of the day, putting on the beginning of the day, thinking we have a longer day. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I do like the concept of standard time is God's time. So let's just stay with that. But you were given that face by God, Jenny. Why you got to cover up with makeup? Why do you need a trough? Why do you need a mirror? Just be in your natural beauty.
Yeah.
What do you want,
makeup.
Trent?
Yes, wearing makeup, Jenny. Come on.
Although that is, John, she's promoting a beef product by smearing all of that rendered cow intestine on her face. So I guess we should promote people do that.
Yeah.
Hey, tallow is the new thing.
I know. Beef tallow is the in thing. Even the big golden arches went back to frying their French fries in beef tallow. It's cool again.
They absolutely did. So now you're supposed to slather it all over you and, fry your French fries in it. So
I'm sticking with go with your natural beauty, Jenny. Forget this other nonsense. Eat beef and then you'll just glow.
Exactly. So I'm going to start with you, Trent. You and I had a conversation not very long ago about the fact that something funky is going on in DC, and we're not super happy about that. What do you think? What do you think is going on? I mean, what do you think is going on with Trump? First, let's be specific.
Complete control of the people. We the people, controlled by the king. But I want to back up to the premise that you have as a position for this show. And that is, why are beef prices so high?
Yeah.
Are they? Have you compared what beef prices are? The most nutrient-dense food substance that you can buy in a grocery store. Have you broken down what $7, even at $7, which I believe today the national average is $6.49 for ground beef at an 85-15% fat, 85% lean, if you want to put it that way. But at $6.50 a pound, do you know what the nutritional cost of beef is compared to everything else in the center of the store?
No, that's a fair cop. I mean, that's an excellent point.
The only cheaper, nutritionally dense program or a food item in the store at the moment is eggs. And we had the Trump team and nobody balked an eye and said a thing when we imported millions of dozens of eggs in April from Turkey, from the country of Turkey. And the reports are that many of them came from India. Nobody cared. They're like, okay, that's good. All of a sudden now we talk about increasing imports from Argentina, which I'm not in favor of, but by 2%, and we have the people going nuts. We need to understand that domestic food and fuel production is a means of national security, and anything else we do is putting a risk and vulnerability in our national security.
I mean, I don't have an argument with that. Yeah, I mean,
totally.
I don't, none of the three of us, I don't think are going to argue with you about that.
All right. My work here is done. Thanks for seeing you guys. See you tomorrow.
Right, take care, Trent. Good to see you. I do, though, because I talked to John, and John has told me, and you've told me this too, Trent, but John, you've told me about some, their issues with packing, there are issues with feedlotting, there are a number of things that we, the consumer, don't know about what goes on behind ranching. What do we need to know? I think between the two of you, what do we need to know?
I'll just quickly say this, then John can just run away with it. You need to know who's producing your food. Yeah. You need to go buy from John. If you live close to John and if John's selling it privately, you need to go buy from John. You need to know the people who produce your food. It's that simple.
Yeah. So, John, you were talking the other day about packing and feedlotting and get us going a little bit on kind of the logistics.
Well, I pulled up that slide number 2, and it's what I pulled up on 10/28/25. and it showed right after Trump's comment about beef's too high. And I'm just, the same way Trent, is it when everything else is higher, like a cup of coffee and all that. But, the cattle features drop like crazy. And then we have JBS over here, which is one of the big four main packers. Their stock goes higher than a kite. And then you got box beef over here, and box beef goes up. So explain to me how beef is high, but yet box beef is going up. Your packers trading, which is the first time a packer's been traded on, the CME, it goes up, but our cattle prices are going down. The cattleman himself is getting it in the shorts. It's not the packers and the retailers of beef. Because
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at getting it in the shorts. But here's the thing. I need you guys to explain this to me, because I do sheep, and, we feed them out on our property and then sell them from our property. I mean, I don't know anything about any of this. So I've heard about, go ahead.
Let me make a run at this. So the beef industry, well, we don't even have 5 million head of sheep in the United States. And Jenny, I'm glad you bring that up, because in 1934, there were 70 million head of sheep. Today, we don't have 5 million head of sheep. So what we're really doing, what John's talking about, what I'm talking about, is how do we maintain the infrastructure? And we are currently at a historic low in the number of beef cattle in the United States. Our concern is the complete destruction of the infrastructure, which these same meat packers who have a monopoly in the meat business, JBS, not only the largest in the United States, it's the largest meat packer in the world. I've been in JBS sheep plants in Australia. They're global. But you have in the beef industry, it's segregated into basically 3 different sectors. You have the cow-calf sector. Those are the people that own cows. They typically wean their calves about this time of year, because 75% of all calves born in the United States are born in the spring months. You wean your calves, you sell them either via video or go to Oklahoma City stockyards, wherever you go to sell your calves. And then either a stocker who takes those calves that roughly weigh 600 pounds. They'll put 300 pounds of, used to be, and back in the great days of Oklahoma, you would have wheat pastures. You'd run those calves out on wheat pastures and grow them with a cheaper supply of feed, being that of grazing the wheat. And then they would go into the feedlot phase, which would be the final finishing phase, roughly 200 days. And then you have an animal that weighs 1,350 pounds. Because we have a record low in terms of total cattle, here's one of the big things that's not getting a lot of discussion outside of cattle circles, is that we have moved our end weight of the market ready animal from 1,350 pounds to 1,650 pounds. And we see some 1,800 pound finished beef animals selling. Now, what is one of the ingredients that we increase the supply of when we take an animal from 1,350 to 1,800 pounds? Well, we've already talked about that. It's called beef tallow. So in order to maintain the amount of total beef, we take that beef tallow that we don't sell to Jenny to smear on her face, and we blend it with lean trim coming in from either Australia, or in 2025, we suddenly moved over to Brazil, being our #1 beef importer into the United States. We take that fat, we blend it with the lean trim coming from Brazil or Australia, and we generate a ground beef that is now 71% of the total beef consumption by the American consumer. That kind of gives you a lay of how that all takes place. One final thing is what people are concerned about is that the packer maintains the control and develops a contract with certain feeders, so limiting who can be actually selling product into what we're calling a captive supply. And that is what John's going to allude to and tell us about in terms of the big four packers that literally have a monopoly on all animals, excluding sheep, because we don't have enough sheep to matter anymore. Unfortunately, we need to fix that. But that's really the challenge when we talk about packer monopolies.
Well, Trent, you referenced kind of record low numbers. What does that look like through time?
So we should be producing 80 have a total inventory of about 85 million head of cattle throughout the course of the year. Our total breeding numbers breeding cow-calf should be 27 million. We're talking about 22 million head of cows.
Oh my goodness. But why though? I guess that's my other question is why is the drop off happening?
It's very complex, but I'll let John address that from an Oklahoma standpoint and then tie in what other I see in that.
Yeah, he's got a whole. Where are your slides, Trent? You're falling down here, man.
I don't need crutches, Jenny, but thank you.
I'm trying to put the slides up that he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, seriously. So why? Wow, there are not a lot of dairy cows.
It's like last time I was on here and talking about, there's 20,000 farmers and ranchers a year that's leaving, for one reason or another, so, you're talking 20,000 people a year getting out of the, growing crops or growing cattle, that's a lot. And then we're losing land like crazy. I don't have that slide up here either, but the cattle drop right here on the inventories is really dropping. Dairy cattle's, they beat that up in the years past.
Yeah,
and now they're wanting to put dairy on beef, and that's a big thing they're talking about. But it's something we've done for years and years and years. But all of a sudden it's a big thing. And personally, I think they're doing that is so they can go to CAFOs, which is cattle that is growed in confined areas. And they don't, because you got too many of these activists out here that do not want cattle out here in the wild grazing. They don't want it. So they're doing CAFOs a lot. You want to add to that a little bit, Trent?
CAFOs are concentrated animal feeding operations, just like John said, where they're put in a feed yard, or most dairies today are CAFOs. Guys, I've had dairymen who are friends of mine in Wisconsin and California tell me that if they don't have 20,000 dairy cows, they're not big enough to compete.
Oh my God.
That is a sad situation. Just to speak a bit to
20,000 cows?
Correct.
Yes.
Their dairy herds in Oklahoma, particularly Texas, around Dalhart, Texas. I just had somebody get a hold of me the other day, and they just visited a 60,000 cow dairy in that part of the country in Texas.
How do you even care for that many cows properly? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess
that's not the issue with a large number. No. There are issues with putting 20,000 cows in one location, but caring for them is really not the issue.
Okay.
But I want to speak to what John brought up, and that is the beef dairy combination. So for years, we've been running let me back up before I talk about what we're doing today. In 1951, there were 24 million dairy cows in the United States. Today, we cannot maintain 9 million. We're just short of about 8.7 million dairy cows in the United States. But with that said, these 8.7 million dairy cows produce 3 times more milk than 24 million dairy cows did in 1951. Wow. And that's because you take care of them, you minimize stress, you feed them better, you do it genetically, you make improvements, all of these things. You just extrapolate the production per cow. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
For many years, the dairymen struggled that they would breed a dairy cow to a bull, which even though modern thought process doesn't understand, it takes a male and a female to make more, but that's where we're at. You take a male and a female, you make more animals, but in the whole process, 50% of every dairy animal born was a male. Mm-hmm. There's not a market for a dairy male. Right. You castrate that calf, you put it in a steer. It's not as efficient to grow that animal as it is a beef animal. So you had about 22% it still is about 22% of the total beef supply that comes from the dairy sector. So what has happened, and what John was just referring to, is that we've had this movement where through sexed semen, so now the dairyman can buy semen that they know only has the chromosomes necessary to generate a heifer calf every single time. In fact, I have a Jersey heifer calf in my yard. We milk a cow every day, and she was bred to a Jersey bull that we knew we were going to get a heifer calf. So 30% of the purebred, I shouldn't say purebred, 30% of the dairy cows being milked are AI'd to sexed semen to make specific heifers to replace and come back into the herd. The other 70% is currently being bred to beef bulls to try to compensate for the shortage of beef animals that we have in this country. And as John said, it is changing the dynamics of what is happening in the dairy sector pretty significantly.
I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. I'm serious.
Well, then you need a smaller box.
and a darker morning. So we just...
I'm all about morning. Quit trying to make excuses for putting makeup on.
But in all seriousness, I don't think people understand. I don't. I kind of even get lost when you talk about it. This is a pretty complex issue. Very. I mean, this just isn't, hey, you raise them up, you get when you take it to the feedlot, end of discussion. I mean, this is a pretty...
You want me to make it even more complex?
No, probably
and
not.
Local for you?
Yeah.
One of the two largest suppliers to the double arches that we talked about before happens to be a little old meat company that gets zero attention in Oklahoma City, and it's called Lopez Meats. They are, I believe, the second largest in 2025 supplier to McDonald's of beef. They pretty much operate on 100% imported beef, mixing it with that trim that we're talking about. But they buy all of their products, so they don't get any attention because they buy from Tyson, they buy from JBS, they buy from Cargill, they buy from these monopolies that we're talking about. Consequently, they pretty much stay off of the radar. They came onto my radar because they're buying product from this brand new beef plant that just opened up in 2025 in North Platte, Nebraska, which here is, to me, the biggest challenge that we have as cattlemen in this country. So you have a group of ranchers in Nebraska that want to do the right thing. We got to get away from this packer monopoly. We got to have more liberty when it comes to marketing our cattle to the fed beef sector. And distribution is what causes this concentration in all of the food system, not just the beef industry, but this is just the glimpse. So this group of producers in Nebraska said, we're going to build our own beef plant. And they did. But they ran short of capital to get this beef plant built before they got it done. So guess who come along and offered enough value, enough input in terms of money to own 51% of the beef plant?
Cargill.
You're very close. Walmart. Walmart comes in and says, okay, you guys can't make it work without our input of capital, so we'll own 51%, and here it is. So this whole concept started with Nebraska ranchers who wanted to have an alternative, and instead what ended up happening when they opened it up is that 51% of the thing is owned by the company that causes the distribution channel challenge to begin with. Because Walmart controls 33% of all grocery sales in this country. I didn't mean to take you silent, but it worked pretty good.
Well, no, but I mean, I guess the problem is this. I see this happening. I think people who are engaged see it happening, just the taking over of all of the biggest companies. I mean, it's just like the blob, right? They just take over everything, BlackRock, on down. Monopoly. How do you stop this when these guys in Nebraska tried and, was it just their business model that sucked and they couldn't quite figure out how do we stop this?
By enforcing the laws that we have on the books, it's not being enforced. The Sherman Antitrust Act to stop the monopolies. your Packers and Stockyards Act to keep the feedlots and the Packers from consolidating, being part of one or being joined at the hip. Stop your AMAs from your between your Packers and your stockyards, or
what's an AMA?
Contract.
They're contracts that you set up to where you're going to get a set price on your cattle. And if you don't get a set price, then you buy insurance, so to say, your bids and pulls and all that. And if you don't get it, then you turn around and get government money, which is taxpayers' money, to offset the price that you did not get. It's a big racket when you get to that side of it. And that's the reason why I did this Sherman Antitrust Act. It's not being followed. And like this picture there, it says death by 1,000 cuts. That's what's happening to all your cow-calf producers and your backgrounders and your farmer feeders. It's killing us because of the monopolies. And there's a slide that shows quite a little bit about the 4 Packers and then the feedlots and the monopoly of the feedlots. I mean, like 5 Rivers down there, it's the world's largest feedlot. It's just in the United States, they got 1.8 million head of cattle they sell per year.
Okay. So let me ask this, just being a bonehead about this. So if you have a cow-calf operation and you're selling off your calves to the feed, can't you feed your own? Can't you? Isn't there a way to miss the feedlot part and then you feed them out but then you're still stuck with the packer problem, right? I mean,
yes, you can do that. And if you go back to about 1990s, when I still lived up in Kansas, I sold fat cattle straight to IBP. IBP is no longer, it got bought out
by Tyson. Tyson is now IBP.
Yes. So when all that was, when the big 4 started buying everybody else up, it shut off the farmer feeder going straight to a packer. So now the only way that you can get your cattle from your cow-calf through your backgrounder to your feedlot, and you want to do it yourself, you got to do that yourself, and then find somebody to buy your cattle. And like Trent said, know the person you're buying from. So I fatten out 1 or 2 myself and sell to friends by the quarter or half to keep it legal, because I can't sell packaged beef. I can't do it.
Hold on, John. You can't sell the pieces to an individual. You can sell the animal to an individual, take it to a local packing plant and do the quarters like he described. So that's custom exempt. And that's what we do 100%, by the way, with pork and with beef. But you cannot just butcher an animal and then start selling it to people by the piece. But if you're to buy a half or a quarter or a whole, you can buy from your local producer.
Yeah. That's how we do it with the sheep.
Yeah.
You buy either a half. You wouldn't want to buy a quarter sheep. I
just want to add one other thing. John walked through that very well. And we've had this movement about country of origin labeling, because we believe that if we could just label it made in the USA, and by the way, we've had a product of the USA label, which could be Brazilian beef. That's extremely a problem with the USDA. But one reason why I have no faith in this Trump team is that the last undersecretary of the USDA who came in to run the labeling program for the USDA is a guy named Justin Ransom. He came in August. Anybody can look this up. Does anybody want to guess who Justin Ransom worked for before he became undersecretary for USDA?
No, don't tell me this.
Walmart.
Tyson Foods.
Imagine that.
I'm going to throw this up because I think you guys can talk about this. I think this is a great comment. Lisa says we're being steered toward a one world food order. Giant corporations are taking over everything we eat. We've got to bring our food back to the U.S. or we can literally be starved on demand. I think you would agree with that 100%, Trent.
I think we just ended the show. That's the moral of the story. Nothing left to be said.
I mean, that's the thing about it is just not the four major packers that are, they're in the United States, and all over the world in different countries with their packing plants. Our feedlots are too. Cactus Feeders got feedlots in Canada, and they're under a different name. They do this stuff so they can't trade it. Then they're over in Brazil. They're in Argentina. They're in other countries too. I didn't pull all that up, but it's unreal. And this slide I got up there now is the mandatory country origin labeling. It happened for just a few years back in 2015 and right before. And then you'll notice, the blue lines and the red line. The red line is the cattle prices that I get as a farmer, as a cow-calf guy. That was our percentage and how it's dropped. Yet beef prices for your feedlots, your packers, and your retailers, that's how much their profit's gone up.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you that earlier, John, was how does that displacement happen? I mean, is that just contracts from the packers? Are they controlling that price that's being paid like to the producers, or how does that play out?
I'd say it's more than just personally, I think it's more than just the packers. The packers are controlling the prices on both sides of their side, but yet the feedlots are doing the same thing, because when these prices drop, they go in there and buy a slew load of cattle. And then if they don't get the right price they want, they just keep feeding them, because there's more money in feeding cattle than there is in profits of the cattle itself.
But so, that doesn't make any sense to me. Can you make that make sense? Because feed is expensive. So how is it cheaper to just keep feeding cattle than it is to go ahead and get them slaughtered and out?
Because if you figure it up, like it's costing them like 80 cents to put a pound of product on the cow. Okay. And then they can sell that for $1.80 to $3.2 something, whatever it is now.
$2.43 this week, John.
So they are doubling their money, or not quite doubling sometimes, but they're making more money by feeding, because it costs less for the feed than what they get out of the profit of selling that animal. They call it backing it up.
Can I act like I'm changing the subject and I'm not at all?
Yes.
Who on this call goes to a gas station that has the highest priced gas?
Nope.
I probably accidentally do, just because it's convenience and I live in the country, but possibly.
So when people live in more populated areas, they go seek the cheapest cost of gas, right?
Yeah, right.
If somebody's $2.43 on this side of the street and they're $2.47 on the other side of the street, unless you got a loyalty to $2.47, maybe you get some bonus discounts or whatever the case may be, you're going to go to $2.43. Why is there a difference when the gas tax is the same in the state? There's a difference between said A gas station and said B gas station.
Why is there a difference?
Yes.
I'm just assuming it's how cheap they buy their whatever last load they bought.
Correct. And who gets the cheapest price? The XYZ, there's an example based out of Oklahoma, by the way, that has truck stops all over this country. Do you think they pay the same price as the mom and pop gas station pays? No, Love's gets an advantage to everybody else because they are a volume deal. So what John was walking through is that in the cattle business and the beef business, they do the same economic incentive to the large suppliers as they do. But we consumers, we go by where the gas is the cheapest because that's what we do. Right. So you have this whole dichotomy in there where the bigger get an advantage, yet we pretend to want to be for the little guy, yet the little guy is priced out of the market.
So how do we
solve that? How do we solve that, Trent?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put a time limit on from the time it's sold from the producer till it's actually been completely processed, or I mean, what do we do?
Well, we've given the answer a couple of times, and I know we need to just clearly lay it out. You must know the producer and buy direct from somebody that's doing this.
Well, and I
because
agree.
I'm not. John's right on Packers and Stockyards Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act, and you can go back to Theodore Roosevelt breaking up monopolies and all of that. I have zero faith, less than zero faith in government being part of the solution. I have 100% of the faith that people will be the solution when they finally get over the fact that they don't know where their food is coming from. You must know who's producing your food and where it's coming from. And these systems are in place all over this country. You just got to do a little research, and it won't be the most convenient.
Well, but here's the thing, and I want to bring this up because this is what I'm told constantly. How do I know who has beef for sale? Because here's the other problem. And this is just for me, as you know, I have sheep to sell, 3 of them, coming up in December that have to go. So how do I market my sheep without having, you have to spend some kind of money, involved, or you just, then you go through, hey guys, I've got, 3 sheep. Does anybody want one? It's not, that's easy because it's 3. What happens when you have 200 head that you need to get gone and you're trying to find somebody to buy those? How do you find, people can't, usually either they don't have the space for a whole carcass for sure. I don't even have the space for that. And it's expensive to buy a whole cow. It's expensive to buy. For most people,
it's expensive for the one-time purchase. It's not more expensive than buying it for what you get.
No, I completely agree with you. But here's the problem. The vast majority of people live paycheck to paycheck. They're not going, hey, I've got $1,200 that I can spend on a side of beef. They just don't have it. It's not going to happen for them. And then, so if you then you have to break it down and package it somehow. I don't know, Trent. It's tough
Jenny,
for me.
Well, and also, Trent, we're all on the same page here. We're all aligned, this community, the people that watch this show. But do you think your general public person even cares where their food comes from? Obviously not. If we're in, you
just hit the real nail on the head, Michael. That is the issue right there.
Yep.
And I don't know how you solve that.
There's a select few that cares where their beef comes from. Most time they go in there and they look and they start price shopping. And then Jenny, back to your question about where to find beef that was raised locally. I got on the internet real quick and tried to find it, but there's a list, and I hate to say this, the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association has one, RCAF USA has a list, but there's several of these cattle organizations has a list of people you can buy from. And then several of these local packing plants, there's one up in Shawnee, Oklahoma, that has a license to process the meat. And it's only state regulated, it's not USDA, but it makes it legal for them to sell the meat out of a counter there at their packing place. I tried to look for it real quick and I couldn't find it. I'm not the best at research.
Well,
but there is places to find it.
Yeah, there are more people today doing direct sales, and we sell beef direct, but we're also part of a system where it's 100% Great Plains producers. It's 100% grown in the Great Plains of America, and you can buy it on a website, CP Beef, every day. And there are more and more producers making available their beef. It may be a Texas producer, but you can buy beef that is grown in the U.S., and it's going to reward the people who did not go through these consolidated channels. Just one other quick thing. we haven't been doing it. We have been selling beef since 1995 direct to consumer, but not our whole production. In the pork world, we have not sold a pig to the commercial marketplace since 2017. Every animal that we have raised, every pig we've raised, and we're running between 40 and 50 pigs per month.
Dang.
Direct to the consumer. And Jenny, we have people waiting for our pigs in March because they have had them before. They know how good we take care of these pigs, we've been genetically selecting for meat quality. You can develop that market. And if you don't want to be a part of this monopolistic system, you have to work at developing that market. I got really irritated one day and said, we're not selling another pig on the commercial marketplace. And it's worked out tremendously well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I will say this. I have people get pork from the grocery store, and I really honestly believe that the possibility of getting parasites and everything else is so much better there than it is for people like you, people that I know even around here who raise pork just on their own place. There's so much more. The natural raising them just naturally kind of cleans them of their own parasites. They're just, and you cannot, there is no better pork, I think. We had some bacon last night that we got from a local producer. We bought a pig from a local producer. That stuff is you just cannot beat that. You can't.
I don't agree with you that there's a risk of the pork you get in the retail shop from parasites.
Really? Okay.
No, in no way, shape, or form do I agree with that.
Okay.
But the quality is huge. In fact, I just had a phone call. I just clicked, delete because I wanted to talk to you, not him. This is a guy in Texas that buys 6 pigs a year from me, processed, and he either comes to get them or just in July, I tuck in 2 pigs in the back of my pickup in coolers, processed and ready to go. Wow. The market's and once you get somebody like that, it just builds and people are like, oh, I can't get a pork chop like this anywhere else. That's how you build it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting about what you said about the parasite. So I'm glad I'm wrong about that. So here's, hold on one second. Let me pull this up because this was a really great comment. Homeschooling co-op groups have begun to share whole and half beef into affordable packages for smaller families and going in on purchasing in groups. I think that's a great idea. So if you're watching and you're going, I can't afford a whole side of beef, or I don't know. Go in with some family members, go in with your neighbors, go in with your homeschool group and do that instead of just, pulling up to Walmart and going, hey, I'm going to get a side, some beef ribs. There are so many local beef providers. I don't even seek them out. And I know a half a dozen within 30 minutes of my home. They're just not as cheap as Walmart for good reason, but money talks for most folks.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Well, so I have an additional question on that, Jenny, for either John Boy or Trent or both. What, like when we're talking about buying from a local producer compared to them bringing in beef from Brazil or whatever, like what, obviously, just like in manufactured goods and durable goods, it's obviously cheaper for these foreign people to produce than it is here. But like, what kind of price difference are we talking about for ground beef or just basic cuts of steak or whatever?
Half or more. It's unreal. It'd been 5 years ago when I had my knee replaced. I did a lot of digging on that. Somewhere around 34%, and it's grown since then, is the amount of beef that is brought into the United States and purchased by the American people. 13% of that is only inspected because it's brought in from another country, where all U.S. beef is 100% inspected. They can use chemicals and different types of things in their beef that we cannot use in the United States. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. They got foot and mouth disease, and some of them countries we're importing frozen beef from. The risk factors, to me, is a lot higher than if you buy locally. Because, like myself, I use no antibiotics. I use no steroids in my beef. I do not feed soybean meal whatsoever, and I feed very little corn. I use other means of grains like sunflower seed meal, beef pulp, and that type of thing to gain, my grain front, feed in that, so that my beef is a better beef as far as your amino acids and that type of stuff. That's what I do myself, because I cannot eat beef out of the grocery store because I have food allergies.
That's interesting.
But I can eat my beef. No, I can eat all day long.
Well, I want to talk about this slide that you have right here. Beef isn't too high. Why have we, do you think it's just a propaganda machine to get us to think it's okay to import beef because Trump wants to make these deals with these countries?
Is it because of the imports, or is it because of what I call the paper traders, the guys up at CME that's making the markets go up and down and fall, on their face, or go up the next day? Who's benefiting from this? Is it imports really? Because if you figure out Argentina and the amount of beef that they import, it doesn't even reflect like a week's worth of beef that's processed in the United States, period, for their whole years of import. That's how much they would import, so it really doesn't matter. Brazil is our biggest importer of beef by far. And that's the reason why I kind of put this slide up, is because, we're talking about beef, it's high. It's not high compared to what everything else has gone up. And what really gets me is you look down here at a cup of coffee, that's gone up 775%. And everybody will go pay $7 or $8 for a cup of coffee, but they won't go pay $7 for a pound of hamburger. And you got a 16-ounce, drink, and, you can't go buy, hamburger. They'll feed 4 people. Do people have their priorities mixed up too?
Well, I'll be honest. I haven't looked at something like this before. I haven't researched it myself. And this is really an excellent slide. I mean, it's a really excellent point. I mean, but then again, that didn't quite answer my question, because why are we being messaged that it's high?
I'll give you the answer. Nobody wants to talk about this. A month ago, there was, I'm just looking up the exact name, 2025 Kansas Economic Outlook Conference. And I did an interview with somebody who was in attendance, a county commissioner from a county in Kansas. And she called me and said, I need to be on your program, because I just went to this economic conference in Wichita. And the first speaker was a keynote speaker. His name is Mark Esposito. Mark Esposito showed 2 slides, and then he said, and I'm an employee of the World Economic Forum.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And then he went on to explain why Kansas is in a perfect position for the future of food and economic activity, because Kansas is a leader in alternative protein substances to the animal proteins that we become accustomed to. What we haven't talked about in this discussion, and I don't want to give preferential treatment to out-of-country meat packers in any way, shape, or form, but Marquig and JBS Swift are only invested in animal proteins in the largest meat, JBS Swift, largest meat packer in the world, owned by the Batista family. The other 2 large meat packers in the United States, one based in Wichita, Kansas, named Cargill or XL Meats, is heavily invested. In fact, for the last 13 years has been selling a protein alternative produced in the state of Kansas, and the other one being Tyson Foods. Tyson Foods and Cargill, the two domestic meat packers that we're talking about here, are both heavily invested in alternative protein sources and are planning to transition this society away from animal protein consumption, period. The reason that we lose land, and we can talk about these low inventories and we can blame drought all we want, but the truth of the matter is that it is harder than ever. With the historic low number of cows in this country, it's harder than ever to find land to run cows, grazing animals on. Why? Why is it so difficult? We can blame drought all we want. But the truth of the matter is that when you have the right level of profitability, you can maneuver a rounded route and go farther and find grass that can utilize for your cows. We have a concerted effort to remove land from food production, and the first target is going back to what Jenny, you and I talked about, I believe, in the very first time I joined you on the air, which is 30-30, to remove 30% of the land and return it to its natural state, land and water, I should say, by 2030. We are living out the dream of the World Economic Forum, who today, the chairman of the World Economic Forum is Larry Fink, who is also the president of BlackRock, who is also a financial advisor to Donald Trump. Yeah. It's not hard to see how all of these things continue to come back, and you already used the term BlackRock in the mix. You find a company that's invested in trillions of assets around the world, and somebody who's trying to transition us away from animal proteins, there's where you start.
So Dorn had said this earlier, growing population leads to the expansion of fast food industry, which will drive the need for fake meat. I thought that was kind of interesting. He also said here, why do products imported made of plastic and metals have to be packaged and marked with county of origin, but something grown and consumed off a plate is not?
Well, in the first time, 2006, we were headed down a path of country of origin labeling. And I threw a fit about that only because chicken was excluded. All chicken did not need to be included, and all ground beef sold through food service did not need to be included. Where is the largest percentage of the beef consumed in this country that comes from out of the nation served in food service? And we were going to exclude the very entities that comprise the majority of the import of beef into this country. It was flawed the way the language was written, and nobody's come up with something that's even adequate since.
Oh, gosh.
I put these slides up there because it's exactly what Trent's talking about. These ESGs, it's all from the UN, World Banks is where this is coming from. And it alludes exactly to what Trent's saying, because it's outside the United States governance against the people of the United States to control you, what you can and cannot do on your own land. That's what these ESGs are.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is. It's control.
Jenny, you know what ESG stands for?
Hold on a second. Oh my gosh, no. Tell me.
Environmental. Well, I'm going to tell you what it really stands for, not what they tell you it stands for. Earth starvation gimmick.
Yeah.
I love that.
Every Friday, I have a guest on from the United Kingdom, Kelly Seaton. And in the last 6 weeks, as the UK has really moved towards digital ID, Kelly brings to us real world experiences on how their bank statements are now reflecting what their carbon scores are. And their food purchases are based upon what they have purchased at a grocery store with their credit card. And what John said, she is bringing to living color on my program every Friday, because she finally said it the other day. She said, I finally realized what's going on. The World Economic Forum is trying to move us to a carbon-based currency instead of the gold-based currency that we've been on. And the UK has bought into it, and we're trying to be the leader.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm going to stick my neck out here and say something I'm going to get hammered for. The American Angus Association is doing the same thing by pulling in.
Way to go, John.
By pulling in the Global Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. And they have got that, like I showed last time I was on this thing, that they've got their, they're tied in with a packer, one of the 4 big packers. They're tied in with it. They got their own cattle feedlots and everything. But
Jeff Bezos, don't leave Jeff Bezos out.
Bezos is part of it. And then on top of it, with the EID tags in the United States, the Angus Association is heading it up in and through one of their people that is sitting on the board of all the stuff. I'd love to pull that slide back up, but I don't have it.
Yeah. And to John's point, the American Angus Association had their annual meeting last year. Would anybody like to guess how many of their board members that were on the board won their elections and are still on the board? Not one position changed. Every person who was on it is still on it after the election.
And every one of the guys except one is a big feedlot owner or controller. They're all associated with the feedlots, which are associated with the packers.
I'm trying not to get discouraged as I'm listening to you talk, because it's not just beef. I mean, this is happening in everything, everything. We're going to get to the point, like Lisa said, where we're just getting funneled, like we're sheep, funneled into a funnel so that we can do whatever the WEF wants us to do and eat bugs and be happy. And there's got to be a way out of it. But the problem comes in for me, and I alluded to this earlier and we talked about it, and this is probably a really good thing to segue into right now, since we're going to have to, kind of close things down in a little bit here. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. Most people don't care where their food comes from. I mean, I literally one time saw a thing, I've mentioned this, I think, to either one of you or both of you, saw something where somebody was complaining about, on Facebook, was complaining about the price of beef or something like that. And then somebody said, or they couldn't find any beef, or I don't remember what it was. And she goes, well, just go to the grocery store. That's where they have all this stuff. And so people don't even, they think their food comes from a grocery store. I think they don't even know that a cow says moo and it makes hamburger. I mean, I think we've even lost that at this point. When you've got the majority of people who are ignorant about their food sourcing and poor, they don't make good choices with their money, or they just flat, can't make a living, whatever that is. How do we get people to say, look, we need to go to the producers? If we go directly to the producers and cut all of these idiots out, we can take back our food supply. I mean, how do we get this out? How do we make this happen?
Okay, I'm going to step on my tongue again. I'm going to hammer it hard this time. How to get that done? You're going to have to get our beef checkoff that we are forced to pay on this. We're going to have to get them to actually promote beef instead of giving $30 million a year to National Beef NCBA.
There's a lot.
When we start promoting beef and telling the truth about beef, where it's coming from, like the slide I got up, these imports and stuff, the checkoff say they can't even, fight this because it's beef protein and they can't fight against beef protein. Well,
so what is a checkoff? You need to explain that to me, if you don't mind.
That's where every time an animal is sold, and it doesn't matter if it's private treaty, you're supposed to turn it in, or you sell at the sale barn. Every time you sell an animal, it's a dollar of it goes to the beef checkoff. And out of that dollar, 50 50 cents stays in the state and 50 cents goes national. And then some states, it's $2.
But what
And
does that beef checkoff do? What is the point of it?
it's supposed to promote and do studies for beef to make it to get people to buy more is what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't. It's a slush fund that goes to NCBA so they can go up there and lobby against us.
The original purpose, by the way, this is a federal law, but Jenny, it was mandated that every producer, every time you sell an animal, pays $1 to the beef checkoff.
In 1985, this started.
And within that, it's supposed to be made up of producers who determine what to do with this checkoff money. We know that producers show up and they have an agenda put forth and told what they're going to decide to do. I've got people who've been involved that tell me that's what happens. But originally, the intent was that it's a three-pronged stool. A percentage of those proceeds go to research. Another percentage goes to development. So I'll give you an example. And then promotion is the third leg of the stool. I'll give you an example. Probably you've heard of the flat iron. The flat iron was discovered at the University of Nebraska in cooperation with the University of Florida. And the University of Nebraska received checkoff dollars to do research on the clod, which is the front shoulder, and found this muscle that lays in there in a different way than what the rest of the muscles lay in, which means that if we cut it right, it's going to be the most tender part of that beef animal. That was the intent, but what is happening is that we're not getting that money going to the research and development as it was originally intended. Many people said that the dollar is not enough because we used to have about $80 million. Now, because of the low inventories, we're down to less than $80 million. As John said, 50% goes back to the state that the animal originated from. 50% goes to the national checkoff, cattleman's checkoff. And so states decided to come up with their own checkoff funded mandate, which was a state law, North Dakota being one of those. And there were promises made that 100% of this money that we collect on the second dollar is going to stay within state to benefit the producers in state. Well, that hasn't worked out so well either, which is why right now, as we speak, there is a lawsuit by producers in North Dakota against the state of North Dakota for not administering the checkoff funds as they said they would according to the law. At the end of the day, here we have the largest sector of U.S. agriculture, the beef industry, that is doing research and promotion and development on less than $80 million a year. It's just, it puts some money in some people's pockets. It doesn't have the impact that it should have. And that's what John was alluding to.
And here's another one for us here in Oklahoma. And you're going to love this, Jenny. Here a few years back.
I'm not either, because I can look at it right now and tell you the answer is no.
A few years back, Oklahoma tried to pass a state law to where we was going to have to start paying $2, add another dollar to the beef checkoff. And they was trying to pass this law during the time frame that $1.3 million disappeared, was embezzled out of the beef checkoff here in Oklahoma. Now, doesn't that make a lot of sense?
Well, and here I'm use low cost protein foods. I mean, this is such a bunch of BS.
Okay. Now, the reason why I put this slide up here is, we're talking about the beef checkoff and stuff. OSU, which is, the extension office comes from all this. OSU gets money from our beef checkoff for doing studies and surveys. Big time. Daryl Peel is one of them. And I better be quiet. I'll get in trouble. But they go and they put something out like this, and we're giving them money, and they put out a thing. And if you look up here at the money saving ideas,
oh God,
in the green box in the top right hand corner, it says plan a meatless meal. So don't eat no beef. Don't eat no meat. I'm sorry. This galled me. I put a post on my. Oh, you might have seen it, Jenny. I was hot. And I even posted it on another national.
Well, I think the bottom line is it's wrong. We don't teach nutrition. When we were all kids, we had nutrition in school. And I mean, I don't know, I go back long enough that I remember the redesigned food pyramid, and we had nutrition. And people, I think, understood better back then how to care for themselves than they do now. And we've been told all this absolutely bogus stuff. And, bread, that's what we should eat because it's so nutritious. I mean, you're just like, how did that get to be the bottom of the food pyramid? Make that make some kind of sense. I mean, everybody needs a well-balanced diet, but there is no way that pound for pound you're going to get the nutrition from something other than a cow. Well, I mean, you raise them right. That's pretty good there.
Well, right in the middle of this, it says that use a low-cost proteins, and they're talking about using eggs, beans, peanut butter. You know how much it takes of that to equal what you get out of beef?
No, John, and people don't know that.
And I tried to find that statistics, and I waited too long.
Well, here's the thing, and Jenny, I got to run. I appreciate the opportunity and time to talk. But if you evaluate just the protein, beef ranks up there with anything. Nothing. I mean, nothing's better. But when you start looking at everything that comes from beef, in addition to the protein, the zinc, the iron, the B12, all of the things that really don't get enough attention, this is what's fueling the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is succeeding. The reason that beef is in high demand is people recognize that gut health and mental health is driven by the consumption of beef. And dollar for dollar, there is not a better nutrient-dense choice in the retail outlet or from your local rancher than eating beef on a daily basis. And that's the message that needs to be driven home.
And I want to plug yours too. It's CP Beef.
CPBeef.com. It's short for Certified Piedmontese. It's 100% grown in the Great Plains of America.
All right.
And before you go, Trent, I just want to ask real quick, what would have been a better option for the president when he did the Argentina beef deal? Like, in your opinion, what should he have done for us?
Say nothing. Less government is better government.
Yes.
Amen. Thanks, Trent. We really do appreciate
Thanks,
you. And
guys.
thank you for taking your time to be on this morning.
Hope to see you soon, John.
Take her
Talk
easy,
to you soon.
Trent. Good seeing you again.
I just wanted to put a couple of these things up because we've had some really good comments. Because the root problem, as always, is that we have centralized coercive systems that can be controlled by any elite. I'm not going to read that part. These states were designed to be passed around. They learn to pass power down with thrones and lineages, and I think that's true. I didn't know about this group, Wellness Alliance. Welcome to Rope Report. Make sure you reach out to me so I know how to promote you. We have to do better. Americans should never rely on imported beef when we have honest, hardworking ranchers right here raising it with pride. Thank you, Rope Report, for bringing awareness to this issue. Every consumer needs to understand what's happening to our food system, and we can all help by sharing this conversation and standing up for local producers and food freedom. We shared this live to help spread the word. Together we can make change. It's so true. It's kind of like what I was saying before. There's got to be a better way to get the word out to people so they just don't, they can find, hold on a second.
Yeah, I agree, Jenny, but I think part of the problem is like what you kind of alluded to earlier. Like I just looked it up. Half of the population makes 34,000 or less.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all on purpose. I mean, it's literally on purpose. Yes. So I mean, you've got half the people in this country, they're barely able to survive as it is, let alone seek out in their best interest. They should seek out, actual, local produced beef. But I mean, that's probably the last thing on their mind.
Well, and Dorn says this, another good comment from Dorn. There's a significant factor we're overlooking, the loss of generating new young ranchers and farmers to take the place of those today. And that's another problem.
You can't afford to get in, especially, that one slide I showed about the cost difference of how much everything has gone up.
Yeah.
Equipment is out of this world. But this slide I got up now pretty much backs up what Trent said about the health of beef and how it's good for you.
Yeah.
Because you got all your vitamins, mineral stuff in, but your omega-3s and all that kind of stuff too. And it makes a difference if it's grain-fed, grass-fed,
right.
grain, grass-fed. There's a difference in the meat when you do it.
Oh, there is. I mean, 100%.
I've also got a slide that shows the amount of I'll get back up here to it.
And after you do that, John, I do want to ask you a question on the labeling side of all that after you go through this.
Okay, here's a slide when your meat prices spike over your vegetables and fruits. Now, keep in consideration too, not only is beef imported, it's like 30% of the fruits, and it's going up daily or yearly, is the amount of fruits and vegetables that's imported this country. Yeah. And it's like Trent alluded to, big time, it's a food security problem. Big time. It's total control. Yeah. I mean, to me, this is very, very scary.
Yeah.
Robert had a question that's a good question. What's their opinion on USDA requirements for individual cuts? Driving out to the country and buying a whole half or a quarter of a cow at $10 a pound is not practical for city folk. Well, I mean, it's not practical for a lot of us. I mean, I can't afford a whole cow, but I did go in with a neighbor to raise a steer that we are going to send ourselves, but I'll end up having to sell part of that to pay for the processing, because the processing, of a steer is not a small thing. I mean, that's a big cost. And, I won't be able to, foot that bill to get the whole thing myself. I'll have to sell some of it, myself, just to pay for the packing or the butchering.
And another thing I've visited with a lot of people about, and there's some of them doing it, is I told them to go to the grocery store, and whenever like your roast and those type of things are on sale, I said, look at that compared to the price of hamburger. Go buy yourself a small meat grinder, buy those roasts, take them home and grind it up, and then you got good quality hamburger, not loaded down with a bunch of fat. And I've got some people doing that, and they thanked me 100%. They said it's twice as good as hamburger.
Yeah.
So, that's another way, where you can get a better quality hamburger too than buying that joke.
And I do think it's important to point out, and I will see, maybe John, you and I can work together to get some lists together for people that we can publish out there somewhere. The place that I go to have my sheep processed, I absolutely love them. They're called Country Home Meats, and they're in Coyle. So they're up by still just a little bit west of and north or south of Stillwater. They're not that far from me, from Edmond or from Guthrie, for example. They're just east of Guthrie. And Country Home Meats, they actually sell out of their shop. I mean, so they have sometimes, people will come in and bring in things, and they'll just sell it right out of the shop. Mm-hmm. So you can go to a lot of these packers, these butchers shops, and you can get grass-fed beef that where it's coming from. They can tell you where it came from, and you can get it there. So that is an option for you. And so just look up butcher shops, where your area is, and go to a butcher shop and see what they have in their cases.
And there's several of them around the state.
Yeah, I mean, several really nice ones. Like
when we get
like I
off here,
said.
I'll try to dig it up and find that one or a couple of them that I know of and post it in the comments.
Yeah,
But,
and I think I'm going to do a piece on the rope page, with it. I'll just do a blog post, and you and I can get some of those lists in there, and then people will have those, because I do think it's really important that we make it affordable for people who might not be able to do it. I mean, let's put it this way. Even if you don't make just a whole bunch of money in a year and you're struggling, even if you went together with some other families, you could do something like that and put some beef in your freezer, or some sheep, for example, or some pork. You could put that in your freezer and have that available. So you can do it. I think the question is, can you find like-minded people who would go in with you on that? And then John, you and I can work together and put together a list of some local places where people can go.
And there's a few people around here that do sell meat by the cut. And a friend of mine that used to do it, and he sold his business out, he said he was making more money up in Norman with the offals, and I shouldn't say it that way, with the stuff that the normal people don't eat here in America, as far as your cuts of hamburger and your hamburger steaks and roast. He was making more money selling bone, tongue, liver, intestines, and that stuff to the foreigners coming to the country.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's selling your beef and direct to the people. That the market has grown a lot more than just the meat itself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one lady that wanted the head so that she could get the brain.
Okay. All righty.
Okay, Michael, I popped this up on the imports because you had a question.
Well, yeah, you kind of mentioned this on the last time you were on the podcast with the labeling and repackaging, and they're able to say, made in America or whatever product. I'm assuming that there's a very large difference between if I bought a steak or hamburger meat that's grass-fed at Walmart compared to grass-fed local producer.
Yes. Yes.
Like what can they just slap on there just to slap on there for the sake of sales at the corporate level?
Anything they want. That's the problem. The rules and regulations on the beef being natural, hormone-free, grass-fed, or anything like that. It only has to do it for a small percentage of time. So they, cows, like my cows, they're out here on grass the whole time. I feed no grains whatsoever unless I'm, feeding one to fatten it out a little bit. But so I can sell this thing. They can take it to a feedlot and feed it, and they can slap a grass-fed label on it because it grazed grass when it was a calf.
And you don't know what they're doing at that feedlot to it either.
No,
And that's,
not at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how lax the laws are.
And like with your slide here, with the amount of imports, there's no way for an American consumer to have any confidence in any beef as far as grass-fed, organic, or any, whatever the terms may be coming from out of the country in any capacity.
Nothing whatsoever, because the way the laws are for beef coming into the United States, as long as they alter that in any way, shape, or form, cut it again, repackage it, then it is labeled as a USA product.
Wow.
Product of the United States.
Yeah. It is bad. And I think if people understood that, then they wouldn't have a tendency to want to do that. They'd have a tendency to want to go to their local butcher and do that. It's interesting for somebody like me. I mean, sheep are great for us because we only have about 10 acres here. So we don't have a lot we could maybe raise a cow. one, maybe. But sheep are a lot easier to feed. They take up a lot less room, and we feed them out with hay. That's what they get grass and grass and grass, and that's what they get. And we don't do antibiotics and all of that stuff. We use like natural products, for example. I can't think of what the name of it is. It's that white powder that's full of diatomaceous earth. Like we do that, for example, if we're afraid that they've maybe has some parasites or something. So we don't use anything like that. But you go to the grocery store, because I've actually looked, you go to Costco and they do sell lamb. And do you know where it comes from?
Argentina.
New Zealand.
Yeah. New Zealand.
It's always New Zealand. Also occasionally Australia, but also New Zealand. So not only do you not know what's happening in New Zealand, but I want you to think about the fact that New Zealand is pretty much on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so think about the fact that the sheep goes down, the sheep gets processed, the sheep goes into the freezer, the sheep goes onto a boat because they're not paying to fly it over here. The sheep goes over to the boat and then it finally gets to Costco, where Costco then distributes it. And then you're paying $18 a pound for lamb from someplace else.
Yeah. Well, John, where does like and I'm putting this in quotes, like the USDA, like where does their check and balance come into play with like a local producer like you? Like I know my dad, when he ran National Beef, there was 2 USDA inspectors there, all 24/7, always checking on everything. Like, would a local producer have any contact with the government in any way, or like, I'm assuming there's no USDA contact with anything, that's being raised in Brazil or Argentina or New Zealand, or maybe there is, I don't know.
Well, keep in mind, 5 years ago when I did that research, I wouldn't say it's 11 or 13%. I'm digging off the top of my head of imported meat, period. That includes lamb, pork, beef, everything. 13% or what that is inspected by USDA inspected. Okay, in the United States, whenever it goes through a processing plant, it has to be 100% inspected. Now, when we back up to the farmer like me, the rancher and all that, we have no contact with USDA unless there is an outbreak of a disease or something like that on your place. Then you're going to be shut down. Yeah. Now, if I take it and fatten the critter out and want to go get it processed to sell it by the cut, it has to go, and I want to sell across state lines. There's so many rules to this. If I want to sell my processed beef across state line, I have to go to a USDA plant, and it has to be USDA inspected before I can sell those cuts that were raised in Oklahoma, processed in Oklahoma, and sold out of state. Now, if I want to sell it in state, I can get it inspected at a state inspected plant, and I can sell cuts within the states as long as I go get all my permits and everything to do so. And then I can sell cuts of meat within the state, but yet I can sell quarters, halves, or whole beefs to individuals before it is processed at a processing plant, and I'm okay because they owned that animal before it's processed. Does that explain it?
Yeah. So basically the USDA is just another one of these agencies in the way of your local production, making you jump through 1,000 hoops, and they're not even doing their job protecting us, the American people, with product that's coming in from anywhere, whatever it may be.
And if I go to a USDA plant and use a USDA plant and it's inspected, it costs me money for them to do it. and it's like $100 to $150, or it used to be, for them to do it. We did a program, and it went up there to OSU, and it's processed up there, and it was USDA inspected, and I forget, I want to say it was $150 for them to inspect that meat, and then I kept the meat. I didn't even sell it.
What's that inspection process? What should it look like, or what does it involve?
It involves the animal, checking it out as far as the animal itself, the carcass, which is the hanging meat, still in the bone, and then they check like the liver and that type of stuff, to where they make sure that it's not full of parasites. But your carcass would be right there underneath the packer. That'd be a hanging carcass. But they check your liver, they check the lungs and those type of things, make sure it's not full of parasites. And then if it's a certain color of meat, they can condemn it and say it's not edible or usable for human consumption. That's what the USDA inspector is supposed to be done. But most of your processors know it.
It's all visual in some way. They're not like chemically testing anything or taking samples or run any kind of labs or anything like that. It's just visual.
Yeah, most of it. Yes, it's visual until something they don't like, and then they'll pull samples and do chemical tests or look at through microscopes and stuff. But it's all visual until something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, there were a couple other comments on here too. The weekly meatless meals aren't the issue. They were advocated for even back in the 50s and 60s. And that is true. I mean, it's true. The real issue is outsourcing something as vital as our food for those who can withhold it. And that is the issue. That's absolutely dead true. I'm looking to... Now, this is an interesting comment. How do we sign up to buy a section of beef from you or other regional growers? So Diane actually, wants to buy, and she's, being good about, she's good about sourcing her food. So how would you find... Well, we talked about we were going to put together a list, right?
That list has, and in that it tells if they sell it by the quarter, half, whole beef, or if it's processed cuts. So that list, and I hate saying it because it's one of the very few Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association done, as in my opinion, it was good, is making that list up to buy beef from individuals, where you can go straight to the farm and get it.
Yeah,
and it is on their webpage.
So John and I will put together. I'll kind of work with him to get some lists, Diane and other viewers, for today, and we'll get it up on the website, and then you can just kind of pull it down. I'll make it easy to find, and you might even send me your slides, John, and I can pull them up maybe into something like that, so people can just look at what you put together. Because it's really great stuff. I mean, you've done a great job here, John.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
I threw it together in just a few days.
Yeah, but that's a lot of really good information.
And here's another slide on our fruits and vegetables getting imported. To me, it scares me to death. And another thing is they're importing food from other countries, and because they got these trade agreements, they're telling Americans to destroy their food that they have produced, or they don't harvest it, and then the taxpayers pay them to not process their food. It's not right.
No, I completely agree. I think our biggest issue is going to be the vast majority of people just don't care. And so that's the, you know,
they want cheap food regardless.
They do. And so I think the only way to do it is to, I mean, those of us obviously who can and are interested and do want to do that, you know, we'll get some stuff up on the website for that so that people can. But I also think there's going to have to be some kind of either more than likely removal of this regulation so that people can actually sell what they grow around here in the store. And I don't think people understand how bad that is, but I'll give you an example. So there are a lot of people that are interested in having raw milk and drinking raw milk. Well, there has been a huge fight for years. I mean, for probably 6 years that I know of, just recently, about getting raw milk into stores so people can decide to drink that if they want or not. I mean, we're not saying here all you get is raw milk. If you want to get pasteurized milk, get pasteurized. But there are people who don't want pasteurized milk and would like to have that. Well, you have these big companies like Brahms here in Oklahoma who have fought that because they think that that's going to impede their market share somehow. The 15 people who are going to want to buy raw milk in the grocery store. We have got to stop. It's what, oh golly, who said it just a minute ago? Jeremy said, was talking about the fact that these big producers are just funneling us into this, you know, well, now all we have is, you know, one company that's going to sell beef or whatever. And we've got to not play that game. We can't
vertical
play that
integrated
game.
system.
Yeah, we've got to stop playing that game. And Oklahoma legislators should be helping Oklahoma consumers fight against that if they want. If they want to have access to raw milk, they should have it. They should have it. Sorry, Brahms. If you don't like your market share, then get out, go someplace else. You're in all over any place, you know, then leave. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's irritating to me when big companies like Brahms say, you know, want to fight a law that would allow these small raw milk producers to put milk in a grocery store. Really?
Well, you got agencies right here in Oklahoma that's fighting against a truthful label.
Yes.
And I witnessed that up at our state capitol 5 years ago. And Oklahoma State University was there fighting against it too. They did not want a truthful label.
No, and it's so... No, we have to stop this. I mean, legislators have to do what's best for the people and not what's best for certainly people like OSU that we subsidize with our tax dollars anyway. That's just a double whammy. That's like paying school attorneys to sue parents.
I mean, from what you're saying right now, this slide that I threw up there is exactly what they want to stop is independent. Yeah. They don't want us little guys out there. They want total control.
Of course they don't. Of course they do.
And the thing that gets me is, you know, if you read this slide, it says how many people fuss and carry on, but they won't go to a meeting or go to the Capitol and stand up for themselves or their neighbor. They just want to sit back and fuss. They won't do nothing to help themselves out. And it's scary.
Jeremy says, Americans are experiencing a corporate takeover. Look at our shiny politics, our shiny holidays, our plastic lives, and it's going to get worse if we let them design our coercive apparatus by algorithm and corporate spreadsheet. And the state has married the corporation. We have to get off the plantation by ignoring their BS once and for all. They're all cowards. And they're cowards, but they're worse. I mean, it's money. It's for the love of money. I mean, these people, get kickbacks, and the legislators get money from, these corporations, like, the ones that run the windmills. And I mean, that's where we are, is we're electing people who are more interested in getting campaign funds from people that are hurting the people than just doing what's right for the people. And that's where we are.
Totally.
So, well, John, I really appreciate you being on today. I really appreciate you covering this stuff with Trent. And, like I said, after we're done, you and I just need to touch base so that we can get some stuff put up on the website, and then hopefully draw people to it. And then people, if they want to have alternatives, they can. But again, I'll go back to Sarah Van Alstein's point a minute ago. Go in with a group. If you can't afford it yourself, and I can't afford to buy a side of beef, go in with some other people and do it. There's no reason you can't. You absolutely can do that. So just think about that. Don't go, well, I can't afford it. Okay, well, go in with some other people and then you can.
Well, half a beef is going to cost you over $2,000. Well north of $2,000 right now, with the input cost as high as they are to feed it. That's how crazy it's got. Everybody's fussing about high prices of beef. I like for somebody to pay my feed bill, and then maybe they'd realize that it's not that high.
Yeah. I was surprised, this year we had all of that rain, and we feed ours Bermuda hay. We feed our sheep Bermuda hay because it's just really better for them than other things are. I mean, we give them a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I mean, for the most part, it's Bermuda hay. I was surprised what a round bale of Bermuda hay went for this year. And I'm like, wait a minute, we had all that rain. How is it that we're still, ending up paying, $90 for a clean bale of Bermuda hay? So, or 120, something like that. So, I mean, it's very hard.
Hay prices are all over the place.
It is weird. It is. You just want to make sure you get it, that they don't buy a sledge on it. Hey, I wonder if do you know Cheryl? She has your same last name.
I might.
And that is true. We do need to control the input cost. There's no way around that. Well, again, thanks, John. I really appreciate you for being on and for enlightening this. I mean, your slides were great, and I do hope you'll share them with me, and I'll upload them into something that I can put up on the website today, and we'll get that information out for people. So let's you and I touch base after we're done here. But thanks again, and we will talk to you more later, and I'll catch up with you this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. You too. You're awesome. I thought that was, I hope at least what the whole program did was illustrate to people that this is not a small topic.
Well, I mean, if you want to go down that road, Jenny, I mean, I would say it's 100% on purpose. It's 100% not just for corporate greed and the corporatocracy. I mean, I would say that we're moving towards those Malthusian goals of lower population, getting, less humans on this earth. I mean, this is how you do it. You control their food supply. You control these other things. I mean, it's just when you don't have a local source that is competitive, then we're just gonna and sooner or later, and like Dorn made the point, you don't have a bunch of young guys coming in. And John Boy said, you can't afford, if I want to go just be a startup rancher, it's not going to happen. You know what? I can't afford it. So, we're just heading down that escalation of, less humans on this planet, the UN agendas and the Georgia Guidestones, all those things, it's like the predictions are there, the instructions are there.
Well, I don't think, I think there's I think the biggest problem is, like we talked about before, the majority of people don't care. I mean, Soylent Green, they could eat Soylent Green and not care that it's people. I mean, they just don't care. There are other things that drive their, whatever. And it's not their health or thinking about their health or thinking about what's best for them or anything else. That's probably the biggest fight we have, because until we get more people to drive the idea that local is better and local food is better, and people to subscribe to that idea, we're not going to get people, even like me, who just have, 10, 15, 20 acres, who can put together, a small sheep herd or, a couple of cows that they're willing to raise that they'll sell to their neighbors or, something like that. Back in, don't forget, I'm tail end of the baby boomer generation. And I was brought up gardening. I mean, no joke. I mean, that is what I was taught.
Yeah.
Because my family all went through the Depression and they went through World War II. My grandmother taught me how to garden. My mother, even though she didn't have as much time as she would like to, was into gardening. I mean, and I saw a slide, and I don't remember where it was. And I think I meant to download it and I forgot. In the 1940s, during World War II, did you know that 90% of Americans had victory gardens? Think on that a second. 90% of the population. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. And maybe I'm wrong. But I think it was very high, because I remember going, holy cow, are you kidding me? And now you tell people, oh, I garden, and they look at you like you've got horns coming out of your head. And they're like, why? Why would you want to do that? I mean, just go to the store and get what you need. I don't think that people understand that we're coming to a World War II type end, but it's not going to be, it's going to be us against, the war is going to be us against the elites. And if we don't know how to take care of ourselves, we're sucked in with everybody else.
And I need to find that number, but like when the Great Depression happened, Jenny, think about how many people outside of the cities, were actually a lot more self-sufficient than anyone now.
Oh yeah. No,
you have another Great Depression type of, and everything cycles. I mean, sooner or later, it is going to happen. Think about all the people that have no ability to even grow tomatoes. No knowledge of even how to plant something. Think about it. I mean, we're going to be in some serious trouble. We're going to be in some serious trouble in this country.
Well, but that's true, because even people who do garden, where do they get? They usually end up going to Lowe's or something like that and getting their peppers or getting their tomato plants, and they don't grow them from seed, and they don't know how to do that kind of thing. And it's not, sadly, I would like to think that it was super simplistic and all you had to do is play Johnny Appleseed, and grow through, Oh, look, Johnny just threw some seeds on the ground and grew a whole orchard of apple tree. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it's not a small thing. And I would like for people to believe that they can do it, because for God's sakes, I taught myself to do it. And we've already come to the conclusion that it needs to be dark for me in the morning so I don't have to see my face, and I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. So if I can do it, other people can do that. It's not difficult. It's just a little bit of time consuming. You have to work a little bit at it. I did want to put this, World Wildlife Federation and other animal environmental groups have it right in their pamphlets and materials. They want cattle removed from all lands. They've even purchased lands in the United States and turned buffalo loose on the land next to Yellowstone National Park. And that is a problem that people are falling into. Catherine says, that's why I share a lot of the stuff we grow. We need to start learning to grow our own food.
Yeah.
More and more young people are getting into it. And you know what, Catherine, and that is true. There is a group of younger people that are coming up that are interested in organic gardening, for example. There's a huge social media presence for backyard gardeners, though. It's growing and growing, thankfully, especially on TikTok. Yes, because I'm sure the Chinese want to know where all our gardens are. Sorry, Catherine. But yeah, I mean, it is something that we have to do. Years ago, there was a movement to get backyard chickens, remember, to get city councils to stop, keeping people from keeping backyard chickens. Well, you can do that. I mean, most city councils allow people to keep some chickens. You don't get to have a rooster, I mean, unless it doesn't crow, but you're not allowed to upset your neighbors with all of that. But you can have backyard chickens there. I mean, and think about it. That chicken poop then goes into your, you put that back into your soil. It helps you to grow things. So my neighbor said, can I come over and get a couple of bags of sheep poop? Absolutely. Anybody who wants to come out and get some sheep poop. But it's great. I mean, because you put that right back into the soil. It's regenerative. It does grow bigger stuff. It really does. I promise you.
That just reminded me when I was in school and we used to have land run day. We played all the games. I mean, we literally had a cow chip throwing contest.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally did.
I remember those days.
My kids wouldn't even know what cow chip even is. I can tell you that.
No, and it's all been done deliberately. There's just no way to get around it. It's all deliberate. But we can't get people to get out of the convenience mode to see how inconvenient their convenience is becoming.
Well, not just convenience, we're entertained. We've literally just turned from a producing, working, independent, decentralized society into a just 100% entertained. I got to be entertained with everything: sports, social media, reality TV, internet, whatever. I mean, we're 100% consumed with entertainment. Yeah.
I mean, and that's by design. It's all of this is by design. Everything is, by design. All right. So I'm having trouble sitting still again. So I'm going to have to get everybody can see the difference in me between October 19th or September 19th and now. It's very hard for me to sit still. My knee still will not let me sit still without acting like I've got ants in my pants. We have a candidate, HD35. Do you remember Ty Burns? Remember what happened with Ty Burns? Ty Burns was representative for it's northeastern, I think, part of the state, Manford, kind of around in there. James Wynn is running. It's a pretty crowded race. It's a special election to be held on, believe it's January 9th I've got it down. Anyway, we're going to have James Wynn. He's one of the candidates that's running for Ty Burns' seat. He's going to be on Friday. So we'll be talking to him. So you'll want to tune in for that. And then actually next Wednesday, we have a really good program. We have had huge problems with insurance in this state, and particularly home insurance. And I think anybody who's watching would go, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of my home insurance, going up. Well, what's been going on is that our insurance commissioner has not I believe anyway, not been appropriately monitoring the fact that out of state insurance companies are charging Oklahomans more to make up for the losses that they've had in other places like Hawaii and Texas and California, for example. And we're just getting screwed over, you know, in our insurance rates. My God, I can't believe how much my home insurance has gone up. And since we kept my mom's house, you know, I've got 2 home insurance payments to make, and they're enormous. They're not small. So next, there are 2 people that are running for insurance commissioner. And if you remember our friend Kayla Blount, I think it's 417 Insurance. I can't remember. Look it up. Kayla Blount Insurance. Kayla has gotten the 2 candidates that are running for insurance commission together. And on next Wednesday, we're going to go to the GOP headquarters and interview those 2 candidates and talk to them about what they feel like they're going to be able to do about insurance rates in Oklahoma. So you really need to put that on your calendar, because that's going to be a big dang deal. So make sure that you do that. John says, look at this. Oh, look at
They've
that.
got the link.
Okay, good. All right, good deal. Well, I'll put that in. Okay. Hold on. Insurance industry has a long way to fall. Best a commissioner could do is
Yeah,
give us
I
the
agree.
bad news. What a phony market. Well, I'm not saying I disagree with that, Jeremy, but I also do believe that that we can kind of shoehorn a candidate in there that will be an advocate for Oklahomans against insurance companies, which is what we need. So, you know, we need to do that. Will Mrs. Roberts be interviewing sometime before the election too? Are there other conservative candidates running in that special election? I haven't seen the full list yet. There are. I have not reached out to Mrs. Roberts. Somebody reached out to me on behalf of James Wynn, and then he reached out to me too. Nobody has reached out. There are 5 people running in the race. There's 1 Democrat and 4 other Republicans, and it's Wynn and Roberts, and then 2 others that I'll be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention. I'm sorry to say. So, but there are other ones. And, you know, we'll have to see what we do with that. Michael and I will make some decisions. Is there anything else before we get off here today?
No, I think that's it. I mean, you just hate to see that, like I said before, when we were talking about the beef industry. I mean, the one thing, in my opinion, that literally like makes America is the pioneering and just everything that's been put into the entire beef industry, and just to see it evaporate into corporate hands for profit only is just, I mean, it's just so aggravating that we let that happen, because we let that happen.
Well, but then I want to go back to, do you remember TG&Y?
Yeah.
If you're not from Oklahoma, you're not going to know what TG&Y was. TG&Y was probably wouldn't you say that was probably the first kind of, well, no, that's not true. Small towns for forever had kind of hardware stores where they'd mix things up and they had different things. And TG&Y was kind of a little bit bigger of that, geared more to the metro than some of the, than what you would find in a small town, which was usually on Main Street. And they're adorable little places. Chandler has a cute one on, for example, on their Main Street. And I go through there fairly regularly, and it's very cute. So what we ended up doing was we decided that Walmart and Target were places we wanted to go because they were convenient, and it took less time to go to one place than it took to go to several different places to pick up the things that we wanted. And then we found that, oh, look, it's cheaper at Walmart than it is at XYZ store on Main Street or wherever. And so we decided that the things that were important to us as consumers were convenience and price. So once we decided that convenience and price were the things that we were most concerned about, it didn't matter if it was made in America or not. It didn't matter if it was made even in the region. It didn't matter if a person actually had a job making that. It didn't matter if the job went out of overseas to somebody else in another country. None of this mattered anymore, because what we decided was important, because Walmart marketed us in that direction, was price and convenience. So when all you decide that you're interested in are price and convenience, you lose everything else, including your ability to make decisions about what you want to buy yourself. And you're going to tell me, but I go into Walmart and there's all kinds of stuff that I get to buy. Well, guess what? Walmart's telling you what to buy. You're not making that decision for yourself. You're just buying it because Walmart has it. Do you see?
And especially
the distinction?
In all those small towns where now Walmart is the only, they drove out all those little stores, all those other stores. Now you only have Walmart. Or now that we've got the internet, you've got Amazon. Yeah, we did it, Jenny. We did it by our own dollars, where we put our time and money over time. We did this to ourselves.
Yes. 160,000%. There's just no getting around that. Now, I will say, Walmart did propagandize us in that direction, but we went willingly.
Yeah. Yeah. When Walmart came into your town, you didn't have to shop at Walmart. You still could have went to your little local grocery store, the local hardware store, the little local, general store. But we chose to go to Walmart, and we empowered them to take power over us.
Well, and I'm gonna up this and really piss people off, which I enjoy doing. I mean, my whole plan is to get to my grave with nobody liking me at all. Your city councils are the ones who screwed you over, because your city councils and planning commissions could have said, we don't want that Walmart in here. We would rather have the people in our town not having jobs rather than people out there. So
and your favorite Chamber of Commerce, Jenny. Don't forget your Chamber of Commerce.
So again, I put the blame right on local government. Local government sucks and has sucked for a long period of time, and people haven't even thought about their local government. They don't even think about it. You know what? We have I mean, we're already at 2 hours, just like we already always are. But I wanted to show this video. I didn't send this to you, and I probably should have, because you would have really enjoyed it. This is there's some bad words in this video. So if you're gonna, if you don't want to see the video, then you can just not. But hold on a second. I'm gonna oh shoot. Stop. Okay. Well, you know how videos are on, it's really hard to get them to function. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to bring in, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. Okay, is this one the right one? No, this one's the right one. All right, you ready? All right, let me pull this in before I get it going. All right, I'll see if I can make it bigger before I get it going. Hold on a second. I might be able to. That's a little better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. All right, and like I said, I'm gonna just tell you right now, there's some cursing in it. So if you're upset about that, you might want to watch it. But this is great, and it really, I think, summarizes everything that we've been talking about today.
So that means we need to steal the people's data so AI can take their job.
Yeah, but we don't call them the people. We call them the product.
Right.
And we don't say steal. We say
Terms and conditions.
Yes. Here's what we need. Perfect. We're going to need a massive, loud, power-sucking building, bigger. But we do not want this close to us.
No, that would be
But
terrible.
where are we going to put them?
We're going to put them in small towns.
The people will never go for that.
But the politicians will. They'll just tell the people they're creating jobs.
But AI is eliminating jobs.
Not construction jobs.
Eventually, AI is going to eliminate those too.
By that time, they've already built the thing that kills the jobs. It's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah, we're going to be rich. Oh, wait.
What?
We're going to need a ton of water. Hundreds of millions of gallons of water.
But we'll tell the product that it's not a lot of water.
That's going to work.
It has.
They're going to find out.
I got this. We'll tell them it's closed loop technology.
How often do you have to change the water? What are you putting in the water? Are you putting PFAS in that water? They last forever and it's poison.
Shut your mouth. We're just going to tell them it's a trade secret. No more questions.
It's a trade secret.
It's a trade. You don't have to know
You don't
anything.
have to know.
You don't
It's
have
a
to
trade
know.
secret, you
It's a
sons of
secret.
How dare you ask me what I'm putting in your water?
You scared me right there.
If anyone still wants to complain, we'll just say you use email, you use social media, you use a data center. Even though an AI data center is completely different because you use a ton of power.
Wait, how?
Gigawatts. Oh, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 gigawatts.
That feels like a lot.
Hey, it should feel like a lot because it is a lot. But we need it. We need it. Because there's no way for us to advertise you with all the data we steal from you if you don't give us the gigawatts.
Listen to the man. How are we going to get that up?
That's a good question because we need power lines, and that'll steal a bunch of land from people through eminent domain.
We're going to be like, you can't live here. You can't live here.
Oh, I know. The utility. They'll make billions making us new gas plants. We'll just let their lobbyists do the line for us.
But the product wants renewables.
Tell them it's 70% renewable.
But do we put that in the contract?
Do we put that in contract? No, we didn't put that in contract. Are you crazy? We can't actually do it. We're just going to say it.
What about all the people who live around there?
Are you talking about the poor farmers and the working class across the country?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
I can't help it. They're not rich. That's their fault. They're called flyover states for a reason.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Is it a land grab? Yeah. Could their power bills go up and there be rolling blackouts? Yes. But you know what? Mass surveillance isn't free.
Yeah.
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 I bet these politicians are so dumb they'll give us tax breaks.
Yes.
Tax breaks now, bailouts later.
Genius.
Yes.
The town is never going to vote for that.
The town doesn't have to. The Common Council will. We only need to convince a few people, not the whole town. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Okay, but what about when people show up to these council meetings?
Nobody's going to show up to the Common Council meetings. No one's ever going to find out.
I know. I'm proud of us.
Have you been filming this whole thing?
Yeah.
Son of a...
That's about right.
Okay, do you not think that that's like 100% accurate?
Yeah, but just to add on one more thing, Jenny, remember all those AI, all that data center, all that technology, it's in competition with us for three things: for your land, for your energy, and for your water. I mean, it needs all three of those things also.
Yeah, I just, when I saw that, I accidentally probably because your wife sent me something on Instagram. And I accidentally found it after that.
Those guys were making a business plan to get rich in the future. That's probably what they were doing, I guess.
No, that's what they were. Yeah, it said, we want to be trillionaires. What should we do? Let's do a data center. Let's make a data center. That was like the very first one.
We're laughing, but it's true. I mean, God.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what we've been talking about. People don't show up. People don't pay attention. People don't. I mean, that's part of the reason why I think that was so funny in the first place. I played that for David last night. He's not a guy, he's like, is it AI babies telling jokes? I'm like, no, just watch this. And he watched it and he was laughing and going, that's just not even funny. It's so funny because it's not funny. It's just so true. And people don't think things through. They don't go to their town council meetings. They don't pay attention to what's going on. And all of this stuff is going to hit them right between the eyes. And it's going to be too late when that happens. And, we've said that for years, but it gets closer every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's faster. Not just closer, but the time that it's actually happening now. It's not like 20 years in the future, it's going to be really ramping up a lot faster than we think.
I don't know. This says Lee Camp has an episode about a library concept that communities could use by warehouse. Any town could set up their own warehouse-based system. That's very interesting. That's kind of an interesting thought. And Robert says that's pretty much how the Owasso data center meeting went, but they forgot to stuff the community protest meeting with paid contract workers. Lines up with imports too, just to eat it because it's cheap. Yeah, I mean, we just have to be better. Guys, let's share this video. I probably won't get around to making clips. I'll see. If I do, then I'll get them out. But I am going to put together a Substack, and I am going to put together a blog post on the website. And I'm going to use the information that John and I, that John put together and put something together. Share the video. Tell your neighbors. Go, hey, you want to go in on a side of beef with me? Hey, what about a quarter? Do this. Form a cooperative in your neighborhood where you can learn how to grow things. I mean, guys, the time is short. I'm with you. I mean, Michael, the time's short. People are going to have to start really paying attention.
Yeah.
I mean, and the sad part about it was, and Trent and I had this discussion, and I don't want to say too much because, plus I've had this conversation with other people. What we're seeing now in the Trump administration really scares the bejesus out of me, because I think that he is being used by forces that know that he has an enormous ego. And if they just cater to that ego, then they'll get what they want. Yeah. And, having Besant in charge of things, having Palantir in charge of things, all of this stuff that's going on, it is not in our favor. It is not America first. It's not what we were promised. And
And just another aggravating factor for me. And he's done a ton of great things also. I'm not going to say everything he's done is terrible.
I agree.
I have a lot of issues with several things, but the guy is literally known for firing people. He's a real estate investor. He's a big mogul, but he's known for, I'll put you on an episode. If you can't do the job, you're done.
Yeah.
Where is that? Start firing all these people in the government. Fire them. Get rid of them. Get someone in there who's actually going to do the job now. We can't wait. We're already midterms are a year from now. What happens if he goes lame duck? That's it. It's over. It's over. He's running out of time.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I don't know why we're not firing more people. And I do think that that's true. It doesn't help when a lobbyist group pisses Trump off, because then that, that's something that he does.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, someone along the line, may not be Trump himself, but somewhere, someone pretty close to Trump in some ways, pretty compromised somehow, has to be.
Yeah. Well, and sadly, I think it's some of his kids that are really pushing the CBDC because because they want to make some money.
They've made billions of dollars. The boys have made billions of dollars. And if that was Hunter Biden, we would be going ballistic every single day. I can just tell you, as conservative red America, if that was Hunter Biden, we would be going ballistic on some of the money they've made.
Yeah. No, there's no question there. There's 100% no question. And yet we don't, because it's Trump. So anyway, I thought we had a great show. Share and then we'll see you again on Friday. So anything else?
That's it.
All right. We'll see you again on Friday. 9 a.m. right here where you are. See you then.